Hello, welcome to this free workshop from Flux Academy, the online design school. My name is Matt Brunton, and special hello to all of those who are with us live. You got here on time, so big shout out to all those joining us now, and hello as well to the vast majority of you who will be catching up on the stream later. This is going to be on YouTube for around a week and then available on our website. So hello to you as well. If you are watching live, jump in the chat. Vanessa, our social media manager, is there, and she's going to be gathering questions all the way through, and we'll do some questions together at the end. But other than that, let's get into it. Just thank you for being with me tonight. You could be anywhere in the world, and you could be watching better looking people on Netflix, but we're here because we're here to get quality clients. So I love that. So you guys are of a like mind, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to learn how we can do this together in this short session. We'll hang out for about an hour. Sound good? Okay, let's get ready to go. Let's get this presentation going. Okay, how do we get quality clients? The live stream has begun. I know that this can be difficult when you're starting out. It can be hard to know where to find clients, and life as a contractor can be unpredictable at the best of times, really. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the thing is, if you want better quality clients, then simply, firstly, you're going to need to find more leads. If you have more leads, then you can take all the following steps to qualify those clients, to raise your rates and all those things. But without the right amount of leads, you're going to struggle. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to share with you 11, or whatever time it is. I just realized it's tonight here in the UK. I'm going to share with you 11 different sources of freelance work. And first of all, let me say hello. My name is Matt, and I started way back in 2004 as a full-time graphic designer, and since then I've worked in agencies, I've worked in-house, I've worked on my own businesses, and I've worked as a freelancer. And I'm kind of back to freelancing, contracting now, and operating my studio of one, work with my own clients, teach with Flux, and I also contract freelance with some of London's biggest advertising agencies, which allows me to work on global campaigns and bigger brands and that kind of thing. And discovering these different sources of work has helped me stay booked and busy as a freelancer. And I wish somebody had just kind of laid this out for me a while ago, and it would have helped me get there a lot quicker. And that's what I love to teach and what I love to share, the things I wish I knew then. So that's what we're going to do in this session. So who is this for? Well, it's for self-employed individuals and small studios. It's for designers and creatives. We mainly work with web designers here at Flux, but if you're a photographer or a video editor, I reckon this is going to apply to you just as much too. If you're looking for your first client, if you may be looking for better clients, but particularly if you're looking for a more consistent stream of leads. So what are we going to be talking about? Where freelance work actually comes from and how you can take action. What are we not going to cover? Everything you need to know about business for the rest of your life. We're not going to cover that. We're going to focus on these sources of freelance work. We're not going to cover things like creating a portfolio, gaining experience, presenting a compelling offer. All those things are prerequisites if you're going to get quality work. And there's lots of content on these subjects on the Flux Academy YouTube channel and through our programs and such. So we want to continue to help you with that. But today we're going to ask this question: where do clients come from? Where are these elusive clients? If we want to get clients, we need to know where do they come from. So we're going to share 11 sources of freelance work. Some will be obvious, some maybe not as obvious. They weren't to me when I started. So let's get straight into it. Okay, number one, friends and family. So this might be the obvious one, but a lot of people ask, and they ask us a lot at Flux, how do I get my first client? Well, it's almost certainly going to come from friends and family, because strangers are unlikely to trust you until you've proved yourself trustworthy. So if you don't have a lot of experience, then friends and family, people who already trust you, or they want to give you a chance, or they want to give you an opportunity, or they just think you're a trustworthy kind of person, even if they haven't trusted you to take photographs before or to build a website for them, are the best place to start. And that doesn't mean also that we would only work for a family member or a friend, but it means that it can be a source of work. So it means telling your friends and family about what you're doing. So to take action on this, you want to simply tell people what you do and maybe share a little bit of your work with them. Now, do not pitch over the dinner table. When you're all together at the holidays, that's not the time to, get your PowerPoint out and start doing a little session on your business. No, just tell people what you do in a natural way. Maybe you're moonlighting, maybe you're freelancing on the evenings and weekends. Tell your colleagues about it. What are you doing this evening? Oh, actually, I've been learning web design for the past 6 months. I'm getting pretty good at it. And so I'm going to be working on a website with a friend. Oh, that's cool, because they'll know somebody. I was in the barbershop today and just talking naturally about work. And there was a guy in there who said, oh, I'm developing an app at the moment. I'm going to need a designer soon, and started telling me about his entrepreneurial business activity. So just tell everybody that you know about what you do in a natural way, just like you tell them your feelings on how your football team performed at the weekend, or if they've heard the latest Kendrick Lamar song, or I've seen the video, which is very legit. So talk to your friends and family, just tell people what you do, and it's amazing what comes back. Next is previous employers. Now, if your boss was this guy, you may not want to go to previous employers. But for a lot of people, it's their first source of freelance work. They already hired you for a job, so why not hire you as a freelancer? This is me, and I know what you're thinking. Rock and roll to the core. This is way back in 2005 when I had long hair. And I was working at an agency in Sheffield in the north of England. This is not the north of England. This is Bondi Beach in Sydney. But in this time, I was working for an agency. It was my first proper job. And I was pretty naive. I was a little bit cocky, not as polite as I maybe should have been. And I'd handed in my notice because I was moving away from that area. And during the same period, there was a developer at the agency who was also leaving, and he was talking with my boss about how he was going to continue freelancing as he left the agency. And I overheard and just rudely interrupted, like, hey, I'm finishing too. Why haven't I been offered any freelance work? And my boss just turned around to me and said, you haven't even asked. So I learned that lesson pretty quick. So please don't be as rude as young Matt was and speak politely, but we need to ask. And if you simply ask, and guess what happened? They offered me freelance work after my apology for my rudeness. And that was really valuable to me, because as I moved to another part of the country, it gave me some work during that transition time before I found a job at a new agency in the new area. So with previous employers, give them something to say yes to. Contact them and say, this is what I can do. This is when I'm available. And make it really simple for them. That can really help their resource planning. And I've actually done this many times, and for people where I've had a full-time job, I've later freelanced for them. Even just thinking now, I can think of at least 4 occasions when that's happened. Number 3, freelancing platforms. Now, these are places on the internet where clients are looking for you. So that is the advantage of these places. The disadvantage is they're very competitive. Now, a lot of people know about the most popular ones on the web, things like Fiverr, Upwork, People Per Hour, this kind of thing. They are popular and they are full of designers, 99 designs. And the challenge there is that there is so many people there. Now, the benefit is the geographical arbitrage. So what that means is if you are in a low-paying wage economy, you can access clients from a higher-paying economy, and vice versa. If you're in a higher-paying economy, you can access freelancers and maybe help with your resource planning that may be lower-paying. Now, that's not the only way these platforms are used. I know people use them within their own nation, and people use them in every country of the world, absolutely. But I think that is a common use. I've never used those particular platforms. There are now some higher value platforms, and people are trying to go into that space. So even the ones that I mentioned are trying to move up market in some sense. Upwork had a notable rebrand recently. And there are some also higher value freelance sites like Juno, TopTool, Javoto, IntroU, Crew. And the important thing is not these particular sites, because you can research them for yourself, but just the fact that people are trying to solve this problem, this resource problem, and maybe this is something that is going towards doing that, these new sites. So with most of these higher value ones, you have to be validated there to do that. So it's something to look into, and that may be a thing for you that can work. Okay, next of all, with the freelancing platforms, take action. The key thing is research these platforms. So as I've discussed the general principles of them, find out what would be the best option for you. So look into them, look into where you're at, maybe ask some people, see how competitive they are, see what works for you, and then commit to one or two and find out how to win in that space. This isn't a session on how to succeed on Fiverr. It's a session about 11 different sources. Freelance platforms are one source. If you're going to rely or use that as a source of income, then find out how on that particular platform you can be a top provider, because being a top provider on one is probably much better than just entering your details into 7. Okay, number 4, how we're doing. We're 25%, over 25% of the way through. Number 4 is job boards, and these are not just for permanent roles. This is also for contract work. We often think, oh, if I want a job, a job, a full-time gig, then I would go to a job board. But a lot of them also have contract work on. Some of the general ones like Total Jobs, LinkedIn, Angel List, which is for the startups, but also in the creative community. So things like Behance, Dribble, the Dots, Working Not Working, and there are others. They have specific creative industry job boards, and you can often find freelance projects advertised in these places. So just looking like at this screen grab from Behance, you can filter here. I've selected freelance work in the US for web design, and all these opportunities come up, 117 results. Or if I change it to branding within Great Britain, 86 results. You can see a designer / illustrator, graphic designer, print. Intermediate, rockstar, graphic. Don't apply for anything that says rockstar, whatever. We're never going to please these people. Okay, so job boards are another option. So research the options locally, what's available in your country or region, and also those that are open to remote work, and be ready. That's the key thing. So have your cover letter written that you can send with these applications. Don't just, I'm a graphic designer, here's a link to my portfolio. It's not enough. So write a cover letter and then set up alerts so these things come into your inbox, and that should help you. That should be a thing that will give you the opportunity to respond really quickly to them, because a lot of the time they're going to get a lot of responses. Okay, number 5 is inbound marketing. So what's the difference between outbound and inbound marketing? Well, outbound marketing is more traditional advertising and sales. So like where you are reaching out to people. So things like cold calling or just putting adverts out there. But inbound marketing is a specific type of marketing which encourages people to contact you. So out you contact them, in you they contact you. And I think most people, before they start freelancing, perhaps naively think that this is going to be their biggest or their only source of work. I'll just put up a couple of images on Instagram of my brilliant web design work and wait for the DMs to flood in. Or I'll just make sure my city is on my website, and then when people search web design Sao Paulo, they'll find me and the emails will flood in. And then they realize that that doesn't necessarily happen, and it's a little bit more difficult than that. So this is something you need to commit to over the long haul, but it can be really fruitful. Now, marketing is a big subject, and I will not cover the entirety of human knowledge on marketing during point number 5. But I will say that marketing supports referrals. So often your marketing efforts go alongside other conversations. So people say, oh, I've heard of them, I've seen that, and that helps when you're referred, when those conversations come in, and it helps in tandem with your other efforts. So with things like inbound, it's definitely worth doing though. Search engine optimization Although, you know, web design Sao Paulo is probably quite a competitive term, but it is worth doing, particularly if you're in a smaller market or if you have a particular niche. There are things you can do. Content marketing is absolutely worth doing. It works. It's something we recommend. It's something that we as creatives and designers, we support our clients with. So get smart about it. Find the right platform for you. That could be in a particular social platform, and again, narrowing it down, finding out how to win in that area. It could be things like press. This is an underused one. PR your work, send it out, send it to design blogs. It might involve entering awards, it might be local press, but contact people, try and get features on your work, and that's something you can then reshare again. And another thing is personal projects, and showing personal projects is brilliant because it helps you get more of the kind of work you want, because you can show the work that you want to do. I love Aaron Draplin, the American graphic designer, who many of you will know, and in his book he talks about this incredible expressive logo that he designed for Cobra Dogs, but he actually did this for a pal of his who was about to get sued. He was facing a lawsuit because he'd appropriated this logo from something else, and he'd had a cease and desist letter from a big corporation. And this obviously was a challenge. So he just helped him out. He just helped him out as a friend. But then it became something that he's able to do spreads within his book, and it's been able to something that he can share, and then he gets more work off it. And he's worked with Nike, he designed the logo for Patagonia, and a lot of, you know, high profile work. But a lot of it comes from sharing this kind of personal work. Another one I saw from a less famous designer was this website, Stop the Stigma, and this designer had written and created and developed this website himself, which you can see here. It's on the right. It was featured on awards, so that helped. That was another PR, that was another chance to promote it. And just by showing the designer's skills in typography and also their web design and development, they're able to showcase what they can do. And right at the bottom of this website, very small, you might not quite be able to see it here, it says created by, and the designer's credits there with a link to their website. This is something we've done as well at Flux with the Designer Paths product that we did in collaboration with Super Creative. There's a really cool documentary on this channel, so you can check that out later and see how that was built. But just there in the bottom right is a little created by, and you can see the Flux logo. This is another way we support in the design community, but it's a little bit of inbound marketing for us, so people can find out about us and can access what we are doing. Okay, so show your work and commit to one or two methods. So it's about finding out how to win rather than spreading your efforts. You know, I'm going to put things up on Behance and Dribble and LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and fly posters around my community. Just find, like, I'm going to win on LinkedIn. This is who I'm trying to reach, and I'm going to find out how do you do that as a designer and commit to it. And it might be, you know, you're red hot with your SEO, whatever it is. There's many types. I encourage you to learn more about marketing. If you're freelancing, you're a business of one. Marketing is a key business function, so it's something you want to learn about. But commit to methods where you can succeed and do well in them, and then move on. And a little tip, the hint, the key is to provide value. That's the way to really make inbound marketing work. It's to provide value. So in the content, you don't want to be just telling people, I'm a web designer, this is what I do, here's a website I've designed. Provide value for them. So it might be a case of going into a particular industry. There's an agency local to me, and they've decided to niche with manufacturing, skilled manufacturing industry. So they produce a podcast for that industry about manufacturing. So who are those people going to come to as their digital agency? Well, they're in pole position. Number 6 is networking. So talk to people. Yes, as designers, as developers, as creatives, get out from behind the computer, talk to people within the design and creative community. You know, recently I had a friend call me, and he was looking for a videographer, and he said, I know you don't do that, but I bet you know some people. Well, I did, and recommending to him 3 videographers, and one of those actually got back to me and said, thank you for that referral. And just by being friends with some videographers or having professional connections with them over time, when someone comes, when someone asks, I'm going to refer them. So that came by those people. I'll try not to whack the microphone again. It came by them reaching out, by them being friendly towards me, by them sharing their work. And if you build long-term relationships with business people, that's something that's going to pay off. You've got to think and act long-term in this game. So I encourage you to use your unfair advantages. For example, the place where you are. So a lot of people might hide behind the screen and think it's easier to do all their networking at 2 a.m., huddled over their laptop. But if you're in Sydney, it's going to be very difficult for me to network locally there because I'm on the other side of the world. So that is an unfair advantage that you've got, the place you're located. But you're also going to have connections. You're going to have relationships. You're going to know people in business just through life, through personal relationships, through places you've worked. So use those, leverage those to get yourself into the right conversations, the right rooms. Just reach out to business people. Ask them what they're doing. Don't just reach out to people straight away. Here's my sale. Here's my offer. Talk to them and don't send them that one message and then the next day, here's my offer. Like, I hate when people do that. Isn't there like Kanye West lyric about that, when someone texts you and then the next day they text saying, asking for something? Don't be that guy. That'll annoy Kanye. So if you want to work for Yeezy, build more of a relationship. So ask them what they're doing. Be genuinely interested in what they're doing and what their problems are. And most people, when you're interested in them and you ask them questions, they're going to ask you questions, which gives you a natural chance to respond. You can also think about specific networking groups. So there, again, might be some locally, there may be some online. And there's more benefit to being a well-known member in one group than a nobody in 7. So get within that group and be known as the web designer. So that might be an actual referrals-based business network where people are actively selling on behalf of each other to refer each other's businesses. Those things exist all over the world. Or it might be a more sort of informal networking based around a location or based around creative industries. But get known within your chosen group with the kind of people that you want to work with. So write a one-sentence pitch. So this is a key thing for networking, especially if you go to like a larger meeting. You need to be able to explain to people, this is what I do. If they say, what do you do? Don't say like web designer, because they've probably met 10 web designers that week and they'll say, cool. But say something about what you do and how it provides value, and in really just in a natural way though, without sounding, robotic about it. And then be visible within your chosen group. As I said, be a well-known member within that group so you're the go-to person. So research different groups, find out what kind of work you want to do, and then go there. For example, there are some really good business networks in the area that I live that are very active, but I'm not active in them because the kind of companies that are in there are not the kind of work that I want to do. So most of my work is in London, which is like a 4-hour drive away. So guess where I network? With people whose businesses are based in London. Okay, I'm going to take a quick water break. How's everyone doing today? Let's say hello in the chat. I'd love to hear where you're from. From all over the world. It's so good to have you with us tonight. We've still got 5 more, so track with us. Have you got your water, your coffee, your glass of wine for everybody in the evening in Europe? All right, let's push on. Number 7, direct outreach to clients. So who do you want to work for? Figure this out. Identify your ideal clients. Write them down. Start maybe general and then go specific. So say, I want to work with people in sport. Okay, but then get specific. Well, doing what in sport? Which sports? Or what kind of business functions? And then find out, once you've got to that point, specific companies. Research them. Look them up on AngelList and LinkedIn, and find specific companies. Make a list. Make it a target for yourself. I am going to work with this company. that will really help you when it comes to direct outreach. It's not a case of just, I will email every company on the internet. It's not going to work. It'll take you a while. But it's about targeting people and being specific with your ask and building yourself within that niche. So show people you can help them by helping them. This is a really important thing when it comes to direct outreach to clients. It's not just blanket messages on LinkedIn, I'll build you a website. For example, how many websites do I go on my phone and they're not mobile optimized? It drives me mad. And you're scrolling around trying to find the text and zooming in and out. It's maddening. So if you're a web designer, a web developer, just email that company. Hey, I was visiting your website on my phone. I noticed you don't have a mobile site. Did you know that as a restaurant, 70% of your customers will be visiting on mobile? I've made that stat up, but try and get a real stat. It's preferable. And then that's a great pitch if I get that, and then give them a clear next step. So this is how you take action. You list your ideal clients and then you reach out with a specific offer of help. This is what I can help you with. And then make the next step easy for them. So something like just email back with yes. Or if you'd like to, arrange a call, or if you'd like more information, maybe you want another follow-up step before you then arrange a call or you arrange to meet them. But just give them a really simple next step. And if you do that with a strong offer to enough clients and you're a credible freelancer, then you're going to get responses from that. So that's a great sales method, and it's a definite source of freelance work when you reach out to people directly. Number 8 is direct outreach to agencies. So we can think about working directly with clients, with business owners or managers or marketing people within companies, but also there are agencies that will want to use you as a freelancer. Busy studios are always looking for reliable freelancers. It's always a challenge, resource planning. And having that bench of go-to people is a massive help to them. They want great people like you. So don't blanket message them. Be selective. Don't send a message saying, I'm a photographer. Great. There's a million photographers. So again, you want to identify the agencies you want to work with that would be a good fit for your skills, for the thing, your approach, your style, the things that you bring, the kind of work that they do. If they don't commission a lot of photography, then probably don't contact them as a photographer. So try and figure that out. And a key thing is to demonstrate your credentials. So agencies know what they're talking about. So if you can mention things like whom you've worked with, like maybe an agency they've heard of, if you've had well-known agency experience, or you've worked with a well-known client, or perhaps you have well-known recognized qualifications, or maybe particular skills. You're very skilled in one particular thing, like let's say it's After Effects, then send them that reel and tell them you're an After Effects specialist, because a good creative director or, the resource planner within that agency is going to be able to recognize that straight away. Another great way of doing this, another thing that really helps with agencies, is to try to get an introduction. So do you know somebody who works at that agency? Can you befriend somebody that works at that agency, or somebody who works with them, maybe a supplier, maybe a customer? There's got to be somebody you know, and that's this networking point again. As you keep doing that, it's going to give you more and more relationships over time. You need to go to design events. You need to reach out to people and get to be in those agencies where you want to work. And another great way to get an introduction is the next point, number 9, recruiters. So creative recruiters are very active in, I know the countries I've got experience working in the UK and in the European Union, in Canada and the United States, in Australia. I can't speak for the rest of the world because I haven't done much work anywhere else. But creative recruiters are very active in those areas, and I imagine they would be everywhere. And what do recruiters want? These guys will get you into in-house jobs, and they will also get you into an agency. And what they want is relevant experience and a focused portfolio. So recruiters are often very specific. So they'll ask for something like, looking for a web designer to work in Figma who has deep healthcare experience. Now, you and I know as a designer, if you have the design skills and you found them in the aerospace industry, you'll probably be able to do a great job in the healthcare industry. But often they want that focus, that specific skill set. And so that's important. And a focused portfolio is important. So to a recruiter, if you send them a portfolio which has got a bit of web design, bit of print design, bit of branding, a bit of photography, a bit of illustration, digital, bit of hand-drawn illustration, oil paintings, here's a link to my 3D. They don't know who you are. They don't know what to do with that. So are you a junior, middleweight, a senior, or director level? And is your experience there to prove that on your CV and in the quality of work that you've got in your portfolio? And does your portfolio all lead towards the same thing? And if they've got something to say, look, this person is a middleweight web designer, they primarily work in Figma, they also know all these other software, this is what they do, this is where they've worked, their portfolio backs it up, that's very easy for them to then put you into jobs. And once you've done a few, the recruiters trust you and you will get a lot of work. I get called every week by recruiters, which sometimes is great, sometimes it starts to get like a lot of phone calls, but be thankful for having these sources of freelance work. So find the best in your country. Recruiters don't tend to work, this is just my experience, very internationally. So I've worked with some UK recruiters where the studio has offices in the UK and in the United States, so that might get you booked into the US studio. But I haven't been booked into an agency that is only in Argentina, and I haven't seen people from Nigeria be booked to work in London because there's tax implications and all these other things. So just be aware of that. So find the best in your country, and a great thing to do is just ask them for a portfolio review. So firstly, how do you find them? Google. Come on, I'm not going to do everything for you. You can search. But also, LinkedIn is a great place to find them. And the trick is to find one. If you find one good one, if you then go to that person's profile, there's a little area on LinkedIn and it says people also viewed. And usually, if you find somebody who does a similar job to you and they're connected to a recruiter, well, they're also going to view the other recruiters who are going to also help them. So that way, you'll find a bunch of them. So they tend to be very active on LinkedIn. So that's a good tip. But just ask them for a portfolio review. It's a great way to reach out to them. Not give me a job, do it. Now they want to book you because they get paid when you work. So this is a great source because they're incentivized. But ask them for a portfolio review. Hey, I consider myself a middleweight web designer. Could you look at my portfolio and give me any advice you would have? That kind of thing. That can really help. 2 more to go. Then we're going to have some questions. So keep popping your questions in the chat. We're going to gather them at the end. And if you're joining us partway through the live stream, we're going to be putting this up on YouTube for about a week. And that's going to be available on the website, so you'll be able to catch the beginning. But hang around now because we'll do some questions at the end. Okay, number 10 is partnership. So if you're a designer, team up with a developer. Now you can do websites. Team up with a copywriter. Team up with a photographer. Now you can do websites from start to finish. Now you're an agency. So you don't have to create your own agency. You could just be a partnership where you have an agreement with a photographer where you're like, okay, I'll use you for my photography work. You do this kind of photography. That's going to be very useful for the kind of projects I take on. And then have them refer you. So now instead of just you selling your services, you've got another person who's seeking all these sources of freelance work and is out there and can help you. So this can be as informal as a little chat and asking people to refer you to actually starting a company and everything in between, different sort of partnerships. But when you team up with people, you've got more referrals out there, but you also expand your offer. So you also become more attractive to more clients, because maybe a client doesn't want to work with somebody who's only a copywriter because they need the whole website launched. So they're going to need all the steps. So if you can do everything, then that's a lot easier for the client. They're not finding a copywriter and a designer, developer, photographer, etc., etc. So partnerships can really help you. And another kind of partnership is the final kind. They often come up in this area, and it's in self-initiated projects. So you're looking for clients. Well, be your own client. Hire yourself. That can be another source of work. Now, we talked about how personal projects can be a good marketing effort, but this can also not just be a marketing effort, not just a hobby, but can be a business. So there are lots of ways you can self-initiate as a creative. You can do things like apply for a grant for the arts. So maybe you're an illustrator and you don't just do commercial illustration, but you have a perspective, you have a point of view, and you would love to do an art exhibition. Well, apply for an art grant. These things exist, around the world. So that could be a way to commission your work. There are competitions for art. You could start a product business where you use your skills to create something that you can sell again and again. Build once, sell many times. You can hire yourself for these kind of projects. So I would recommend that you just brainstorm some commercial opportunities. So just go away, get a cup of coffee, get your pad out, and just start writing down business ideas, art project ideas, partnership ideas, things you might be able to do off your own bat that don't require a commission from a client. And you might be surprised at some of the ideas that come up, and then schedule the work. This is the key, because with a lot of us, we have all these great business ideas, but what are we going to do with them? So you've got to schedule the work. You've got to put it in your diary. I am going to do this, and this is when I'm going to do it, because else you're just going to get consumed with client work and everything else. So make an appointment with yourself to do that. So my question to you, here's 11 different sources of freelance work, is what is your next step? Now, I've created a very simple free action plan template. It's just a Google sheet. It's the kind of thing you can make yourself, but it's worth grabbing this because it might just remove one barrier to helping you take action and take the next step. So those 11 sources are there, and there's an opportunity for you to complete it with what you've done so far, what the results were, and what your next step is. And my encouragement to you would be just to choose 2 or 3 of these sources. So I would populate it first with the next step for all of them, because you might be surprised in an area that you think might be really difficult for you. Once you write down the next steps, might be an easy step to take, or you might be one that think is going to be very effective. And then once you have something for all 11, choose 2 or 3 to narrow in on and say, okay, I'm going to get these 2 working for me. I'm going to get them going. I'm going to get leads rolling in from these 2 sources. And once you have that as established or part of your regular routine, then maybe look to add another source and add another source. And trust me, it might be difficult at the moment. You might be, really just wondering where the next client is going to come from. But if you will just get a couple of these rolling and then a couple more, by the time you've got like 4 sources coming in, you'll have more work than you're able to keep up with, and you'll have different decisions to make at that point, and you can improve the quality of clients that you're getting. So that's point 1 for your next step. The second step depends where you're at. So if you are new to freelancing, then I recommend the Intro to Freelancing Workshop, which is by Ran Segal, who's the founder of Flux Academy and this channel and this design school. So you may have seen that before, but if you haven't, I really recommend that. That's for people who are new to freelancing. So if you just go to Flux Academy, flux-academy.com, and then free resources in the menu at the top, you'll see the Intro to Freelancing Workshop. So you can sign up and watch that on demand, and that is really helpful if you are new to freelancing. I recommend this session and that session together will really help you get going. If you are looking to scale, you are not new to freelancing, you are a little bit more experienced, and now you want to grow this thing, you want more sources of work, you want to improve the quality of your clients, then a great next step for you would be to check out our 6-figure freelance designer program. Now, I went through this program myself, and what amazed me was the first 2 modules covered what I spent several months doing with a number of one-to-one sessions with a business coach here in the UK at the cost of thousands of pounds to get one-to-one coaching. And in the first 2 modules of this course, this was all covered, and that blew me away. And there's an incredible amount of value in this course. If you want to actually build a successful freelance business, I really encourage you to check that out. There'll be a link to this, of course, in the description. And it gives you this step-by-step roadmap beyond what we've done in this session, and hopefully this has been really helpful for you. But it will actually give you a lot of opportunity to really build this business step by step and create a whole system and plan. We're going to do questions in a moment. I just want to remind you of that. Keep putting them in the chat. But you get the opportunity to learn with Ran. He's just a brilliant teacher. And you can see here, I encourage you to visit this link and explore this curriculum for yourself. You'll learn how to define your niche. See all these sessions just within the first module. Then how to develop your messaging, how to stand out from other freelancers, what clients care about, crafting your unique value proposition. This is so important to have a compelling offer. Your website, client attraction, pricing, etc. This is a brilliant course. And a big thing about Flux Academy that makes Flux Academy different is the commitment to our students. So you get 12 months access to our community. There's over 3,500 people active in here. We've taught over 6,000 designers. And in this network, we talked about networking. People are posting gigs and collaborations within the Flux community for you to jump onto. You'll get to meet people. You'll get to participate in the weekly live office hours where you can ask your questions directly to Ran and the coaches. You can pick up real life lessons. And every week we get these incredible testimonials of how students are progressing in their business, which is so encouraging because that's why we're here to help you. So again, if this session's helped you, please let us know because that is massively encouraging to us. So this course, you're probably wondering how much it costs if you're not familiar, is a single payment of $695. And that includes lifetime access, lifetime updates, and there is a no questions asked 30-day money back guarantee as well. But for participating in this session, we're going to give you a special big discount from this course. So if you're hearing the live, it'll be up in the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description. And if you're joining this workshop later via our website, we will drop you an email with a coupon code so you can grab this big discount. So this course, you know, even myself, I think I actually started freelancing just before Ran, but this course helped me as well in my business as I moved through it. So I really do recommend that you check this out. Okay, next steps is a key thing. So we're going to jump into some questions now. So I'm going to get these in front of me. All right. Questions. Here we go. Right, we've got a question here, and apologies if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but I will do my best, from Arunava. And they say, can we use our friends and family's testimonials on our portfolio? Is it considered a trustworthy testimonial? Absolutely. I think just be honest about it. So I would maybe just put like a byline or something like saying like, hey, this project was actually undertaken with a family member, but we did it on a professional basis, and I really feel it's a good demonstration of what I'm able to provide, so that's why I've included it here. But being honest about it is a good way to do it. But I think as long as you do that, I think that's reasonable, and particularly if that friend or family member is a recognized position, you know, within their company. You know, if they're like a marketing director at a notable company, they're not going to wreck their reputation just because they want to work with their niece. So it's definitely something that you can do, but be honest and be upfront about it. And I would say over time, it's probably better to replace them with testimonials from people who are not family and close friends. Okay. Let's have a look. My favorite source for finding clients. I would say inbound marketing is a good one, because with inbound marketing, people come to you because they like your work or what you do or your point of view, and that's always a good foot to get off on a project. So that's good, but I think often it supports other things. So I really enjoy the networking because I like meeting people and talking to people, and I find over a long time, again, those relationships tend to pay off. Like attracts like. So you attract the vibe that you put out, and that for me is a big thing. So those two are probably my favorite. Yeah, good question. Sorry, that was from Mohammed. Thanks for your question, Mohammed. Okay. What's the best strategy to get clients on LinkedIn? Good question. So a couple of things I have done myself and some things I've seen as well. So I think messaging people rather than just putting content up there. So again, particularly people who they want to sell themselves. So the market to the marketers is always a great tip. So if you're talking to marketing directors, marketing managers, and maybe business owners and recruiters, they're good people to message with and connect with. But I think also content, like very consistently. So I mentioned about that I gave referrals to those videographers. So some I knew, but one of the three I have never met in person, and he's based locally, but he was very active on LinkedIn. Almost daily, he was providing content that was valuable to anybody who was just like interested in videography, but more for clients. It was tailored towards clients, so like other creatives and maybe people who were interested in using video to grow their business. So I knew him through that, and we had a few conversations back and forth, and I'd shared some of my work and teaching, and he'd commented on that. So just by that, I recommended him. So I think content that's relevant to the platform, and I like that about LinkedIn because people are there to do business. And I always find that's a bit strange with Instagram, for example, because like people are there to look at, photographs of people on vacation and things like that. So LinkedIn is there for business, apparently. So content and direct messaging people. But don't spam people with direct messages. I block and delete everyone who does that to me. It's annoying. But if you want to send me a nice message on LinkedIn, please do. Okay, would you mind sharing the name of the book, Lias, with the Cobra Dogs logo case study, if possible, please? Yes, that was Pretty Much Everything by Aaron Draplin, Draplin. So that has been around for a while, so you can probably get a really good deal from that on your well-known South American river website. Okay. Caleb asks, Matt, I'm very curious what your recommendations are for contract subscription clients. How do you recommend designers create recurring value for locked-in clients? This is a really good question, Caleb. So there are a few things to be aware of. So I would firstly make sure that you want to work with that client over the long term. So if you're wanting to lock them in, like, it should be a great client to work with. And the second thing is you need to make sure you price it in a way that it's worth your while. So you need to think about when you're busy and you have other things on, and as you get busier, are you still going to want to be doing this regularly? You need to put in within a contract, even that's just, it might be simple, just something tapped up on an email, but it needs to say every 6 months or every 12 months or whatever, we're going to have a rate review, or the rate's going to increase based on this, because, in 2 years' time, hopefully you'll be charging more than what you're charging now. I think it really depends, like designers, that's a very general thing, on what you do and what your client does. So think about the particular service that you do. Like, I've really niched into branding and brand strategy and brand identity, and I also do work on creative and on advertising and things like that, but I'm kind of becoming more known for branding. And with branding, it's not something you do every month necessarily. There'll be engagement, it'll be something you revisit. Now I could say I'll do all your print design, I'll do all your web design, but I'm not interested in doing that. So for you, it has to be a fit between you and the client, and you need to think about what the client does. But this can be a very good thing to bring up in like initial discovery conversations, like talk to them about like, what are your design needs? What are your marketing efforts? How will people hear about your business? And asking them these kind of questions, you can find out that actually there is a lot of recurring work there. And often subscriptions are very compelling for clients because rather than them hiring somebody, they don't have all the associated costs with an employee. like all their equipment and their insurances and all the taxes and stuff. So you're charging more than an employee. You need to be, but it can be very compelling for them, and it's easier to turn it on and off and that kind of thing. So there's more about that, but it's a good question. Hopefully there's a few tips. But let's get to some more questions. Okay. Someone else has asked about retainers, so that's good. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to pick out the ones that are maybe the most relevant to what we're talking about. Okay, there's a few about niching, so let me try and pick them up. Shubham says, should we niche down to find design clients? Scott says, Matt, is there another way to niche besides focusing on a specific industry? What about orienting your value proposition pitch around a combo of skills such as strategy and identity design? Scott, you've got it. I love that. We're creative thinkers, and so yeah, absolutely. You can niche based on an industry. You can niche based on a skill or a combination of skills. You can niche based on an approach. The real move is to combine those. So if you say here, you said you do strategy and identity design, which is what I do, you could combine that. So like I do a lot of work within the music industry, for example. So I get calls from people who are just like, oh, you're like the music industry guy, aren't you? We need to do X. So when you combine them together, that's like a power move because you become a go-to person within that industry. So yeah, good question. Okay, Marianne asks, what do you think about Google Ads? I keep attracting web designers and developers instead of clients. Oh man, I feel your pain. Do you have any experience with this marketing channel? Not for a while. I used to work for an agency that did a lot of Google Ads and did a lot of business this way. And funnily enough, actually, when I was there, we were designing websites, and now they're just a performance agency. So they're all about conversions. That's what they do, just that. And they've been very successful and grown a lot bigger. When I was there was about 5 of us, and now there's like 20, 30 people and doing a lot more revenue. So good example. But I don't have a huge amount of experience with this, but I would say, just like anything, you need to figure out how they work, how these things work. So there's always a way. So find the experts in Google Ads and in that whole world. And I think probably after 2 days of internet searching and ask a few people on Twitter, you'll probably find them and find out how to make these things work. Google Ads obviously work because it's a huge business. It must be like the biggest advertising platform in the world, maybe. And like huge companies use it. So they work. But perhaps you need to reframe and think about what your clients are looking for. So maybe talking to clients might help with that. Find out what people are searching for. And that will be good. Right, I've done a few questions from YouTube because I just love you guys who are with me live. But we got a few from Instagram as well. So I'm going to have a look about that. Okay. How to finalize the deal. This is from Raj. These Instagram usernames are always weird, aren't they? Not like people's real names. So not sure if that's your name, but how to finalize the deal. This is a good question. So I have a whole onboarding process where I work in a discovery process with a client where I find out about their project, and we basically find out if they were a good fit for working together. And I rarely now have projects with my own clients that end up in a bad place. Like I can't think of the last time when that happened, because I have a qualifying process whereby we have a couple of calls and we talk, and I find out about their business and just find out if they like them and they seem like a nice person, and also have realistic goals and realistic budget, things of that nature. So by identifying all that up front, agreeing on how we're going to communicate, that really helps. So with finalizing the deal, really having a step-by-step process really helps get the client over the line, because you're always giving them that really simple next step. Like, would you like to hear more? Yeah. So then you send a bit more the next step's to jump on a call. Here's my calendar, and you just send it, and they just book a meeting with you. Then you do the meeting, and then at the end of the meeting, you'll say, so if I send a proposal and it's going to be about this amount and a contract, like, when will you be ready to start? And they'll say, like, in September. You say, okay, great. And then, so you're always leading them all the way through the process. And that's really helpful to getting deals over the line, rather than just saying, I do websites, and then saying, yeah, it's going to be $20,000. Wire the money to this bank account. Like, people, get a bit nervous at that point. You work with them step by step. They trust you, and you get to that point where you lead them through your process, and everyone's happy. And you're actually in a really good place to start the project at that point. Thanks for your question. Okay, let's have a look. This is a question from Sadiq on Instagram. As a beginner, should I look for clients, or should I focus on improvement in my portfolio? Good question. I think that you need to develop your skills to a certain level that you have something to offer. Now, that might not be as much as you think. A lot of us struggle with imposter syndrome. We think we need to know more, but just getting out there and doing work is a really good way to gain that experience. And the experience you gain in the real world is so much different from just, working on made up briefs or working in school or as a student. So I encourage you to get your own clients as quick as possible, but you certainly need to develop a level of expertise and have a portfolio for any credible client to consider you. There needs to be some sort of example of your work, but that can be your own personal work. It doesn't necessarily have to be a paid client project. If I see that you can design a great website, then that might be enough for me. It doesn't matter necessarily how much you were paid for that, if it's the kind of projects you're going to attract as a junior designer. So let those things go hand in hand, though, throughout your career. Keep gaining more experience, improve your skills, improve your portfolio, gain more experience, and those things should continue forever. You never get to the end. Okay, we might do one more question. We're getting towards 7 o'clock, so let me have a quick scan along here. Thank you, Vanessa, for gathering these for me. Have you had fun? Let us know in the chat if you've learned something in particular, and we would really appreciate that feedback. Okay. This one from DWP1995. How to get clients fast. Okay, well, I usually like to answer a question with a question. I should have gone full screen for this, shouldn't I? Here I am. I usually like to answer a question with a question, which is difficult when they're just written down. But my first question would be like, why do you want to get clients fast? Like, I'm a bit worried. Are your family in trouble? Like, is somebody holding you hostage? Right? I maybe shouldn't kid about those things, because we all have times when we're tough. I mean, let me tell you, when the pandemic hit and I had an agency that was anchored in the live music industry, I was asking, how do I get clients fast? So I understand that, but we don't want to be in a position where we don't want to be in this position where we need to get clients fast. So if you're like, oh, I'll go freelance, I'll just get clients fast, like, maybe you need a job. Maybe that's where you need to be at now. And you need to be in the position when you're ready to freelance. That said, if you want to get clients fast, the fastest way is to sell. So it's not the gentle, long-term inbound marketing, just networking, just building relationships, just waiting for these things to flow in. I had a gig last year from someone I hadn't spoken to for years, and they just got in touch. Here we go. And it ended up being a project over several months. If you want clients fast, you need to go to them. You need to sell. So you need to be reaching out to people with an offer, a clear offer, a compelling offer. So that might be people who are advertising that they need things, like in these job platforms, in business forums, on freelance platforms, or it might be that you are just reaching out to people. But if you need to sell something fast, you have to get out there and sell it. And if you reach out to lots of people directly with a compelling offer, then you will win. Somebody will get back to you if your offer is strong and you reach out to enough people. But reaching out to 2 people is probably not enough. You might need to do 20 or 50. So if you want to get clients fast, that's the way to do it. But it's kind of like that expression, if you want something badly, that's probably how you're going to get it. When you're in a place where you don't have many options and such, it's not a good place to be. So let me encourage you over the medium term to move beyond that. Okay, so as we wrap up, I just want to remind you, what is your next step? This is the key thing, not to come and eat your popcorn and watch this session and try and understand my accent. The key thing is for you to be clear, what is your next step? Write that down now. Write down when you're going to do it and take that next step. It might be populating that Google sheet. That's a great next step. And then take that and move forward. It might be that you feel ready to enroll on the 6-figure freelance program and really build this strong system for your business. It might be that one of these sources that you've heard tonight, you're going to really double down on this week and find out how you can win in that area. So thank you very much for being part of this workshop, whether live, whether on YouTube, whether later via our website. But we're just so glad to serve you and that you're part of the wider Flux Academy family. So until next time, happy designing.